The Trump administration's program to develop and deploy a vaccine against COVID-19 is on track to be an unprecedented sprint to success. The program, called Operation Warp Speed, will save lives without cutting corners on safety and efficiency.
Our focus in April was to do everything we could to accelerate the development of testing, treatments, and vaccines. What we needed to do was to encourage the maximum amount of testing, one, to contain the disease by finding those who are infected, and second, to build confidence to go back to work and back to school. So we put into the legislation that was eventually passed in mid-April what we called a shark tank, and see if we could find one or two or three new ways to create diagnostic tests so that in your business or your school or in your sports team, you can take a simple, quick, reliable test and go about your business.
We are concentrating on vaccines as well as therapeutic bridges to ensure that the American people can do well with this virus eventually.
Until we have treatments, people are afraid they're going to die or not get well quickly if they get the disease, and they're going to stay home. They're not going to go back to work. And eventually, until we have a vaccine, we're not going to be back toward normalcy.
There will be no shortcuts. This vaccine will be safe.
What we have done so far in trying to create new testing, trying to find new treatments, and accelerating finding vaccines is unprecedented. I've been amazed at the capacity of the scientists and then the resilience of the American people.
For all of those men and women working in this profession, I will tell you, this will be their finest hour. We're hearing about heroes all over the country, and that's going to continue as long as this crisis is in effect.
There's people that got up and went to work every single day so that the rest of us could follow the instructions, whether it's the person stocking the shelves in the grocery store or the nurse in the OR. There were people getting up, going to work, putting themselves in difficult positions so that the rest of us could stay well and safe.
So I'm here today to thank all these healthcare heroes over here who've done a heck of a good job here in Ohio County. I want to come by and thank all of you, particularly those of you on the front line, for all you did, because I don't have to remind everybody this was a brand new thing. And so the CARES Act began in my office as the Majority Leader of the Senate. We built out an over $2 trillion package and a couple of companion pieces that collectively added up to about $3 trillion, with a T, trillion dollars, to try to not only tackle the healthcare crisis quickly, but to prop up the economy.
Because of the CARES Act and the money that the Pikeville Medical Center specifically received and hospitals throughout the country, we saved our healthcare from collapsing.
We were struggling. There's no question that a hospital like ours would not be able to maintain, even keep the doors open without assistance.
You know, I hope the data is going to prevail here, right? We had a big surprise. We were all expecting another 7, 8, 9 million job losses, and expecting the unemployment rate to get to 19, 20, 21%. That's the path it felt like we were on. And what happened? Unemployment drops.
Breaking news, the Labor Department just releasing the jobs report. 4.8 million jobs hired in June. Those are people going back to work in retail.
1.8 million jobs added in July, a little better than expected here, and the unemployment rate down to 10.2%.
The estimate for a 9.8% unemployment rate, we came in at 8.4% for the unemployment rate.
The unemployment rate declined under 8% to 7.9%.
If you had told me 5 months ago we were going to have an unemployment rate less than 8%, I would have said I thought you were smoking something.
So we saw the economy snap back, 33.1% annual rate of GDP growth.
This last quarter, the economy grew at a record rate, the highest rate ever, period, end of sentence.
This is breathtaking. This is fantastic, right? Directionally, it's all changed, and we have every reason to hope and to be reasonably confident that that direction is continuing.
You know, until April 3rd of 2020, no one had ever applied for a PPP loan, no one had ever made one, and no one had ever approved one. So this was a brand new thing, and we passed the bill very quickly, and then SBA had to write rules along with Treasury very quickly. and then launch it very quickly. And banks logically had a lot of questions about how to implement it. I think there's a big difference when the people running a program want it to succeed.
My name's Kelly King. I'm the owner of Mountain Hot Tub. We currently have over 40 employees. When the pandemic news first hit Montana and we went into the shelter in place, it was scary to everybody. In order to preserve our resources and make them last as long as possible, we laid off people, we cut back hours, we reduced salaries, and it was hard coming in and rounding up the crew and giving them the news. It was really, really hard. Fast forward a couple of weeks from that day, a couple of things started happening, and the first one was the talk of the PPP program. We were on it really early, and we got our funds quite promptly. That just gave us all the hope in the world. So we brought back most of our employees and slowly brought back our hours and restored salaries. The results of that, the Payroll Protection Plan loan, means a lot to my wife and I, and especially to our families of our employees.
My name is Tony Valle, and I work here at Run General Contracting, and I've been here for 14 years. When they were talking about closing all the businesses, we didn't know what was going to happen. My wife is a hairdresser, and she had to shut down. We all have homes, we all have bills to pay.
So we end up having a meeting that Monday, and I just told them that we don't know what we're going to do.
In Congress, we moved quickly in March to try to help. The Paycheck Protection Program was intended to help small businesses be able to keep their employees and keep their doors open.
It gave us the courage to stay in business, keep everybody working.
That was a shot in the arm for us, not only for me, but for our family.
320 employees, not a single one lost his or her job. It's exactly what PPP was meant to do.
So we've got a lot of really good news. My view is we ought to be thinking about what allowed us to turn this corner. I think reopening the economy is the single biggest factor by far, and we ought to be supporting that effort.
But I can't imagine what this country would look like if we had not passed PPP. I can't imagine what our economy would look like right now if we hadn't passed it.
It's really easy to approach this crisis with extremes, to either say, as far too many Democrats, far too much of the media is saying, shut everything down, shut the economy down, shut everything down, which just hurts millions of people. It's also easy to say, well, the virus isn't anything, ignore it, just go about your everyday life. I gotta say, neither one of those makes sense. I think the right approach, we need to be governed by sound science, we need to be listening to medical professionals, and we need to be taking common sense steps to stop the spread of the disease. And we need to do that at the same time that we're opening the economy up again, that we're letting small businesses reopen their doors.
The single most important thing we can do to protect ourselves and others is to wear a mask.
The CARES Act funds have been vitally important for us as a small community hospital. These funds have helped us with personal protective equipment, different testing supplies, building shields and protective barriers to protect our patients and our staff.
Without the CARES Act, we would be much more threatened today than we are.
Regretfully, we are in a much more partisan place, unfortunately, than we were in March and April. And I can't tell you today we're going to reach an agreement on another rescue package, but here's what I do think. I think we need another one.